Muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, and as always, enjoying family. Again, gracias, Tony, for allowing me to get on your platform. Stories written by a current prisoner to share my stories. Now, here's another short little story. This one is gonna circle around a couple camaradas from 18th Street and two of the Pilis from La 18. And basically, I'm gonna pinpoint on how they envy each other, how they don't even keep it humble amongst each other. They jealous even a penny that the other one's making more, and they don't care who they hurt in the midst, which in every case, unfortunately, it's either a camarada or a camarada's family. And yeah, basically just circling around that. You know, there's there's been rumors put out there, or you could say they're rumors, but that these guys are not targeting families, and I can assure you, that it is happening now. They stop holding holding firm on those values where you had to be in the mix of things to actually get touched. Now they can't touch someone, and they opt to go after someone's family. So I just want to put it out there for, again, for those young batos that are out there doing their thing, basically to think twice about something that that it has no foundation. It ain't nothing how people on the streets portray it to be. All that seems to end once you hit the you hit prison. Just and for those that think that you're out there on the streets, putting in work and picking up value, once you hit prison, ain't nothing you do on the streets carries any value in prison. But anyways, okay, for this story, it's about a camarada, Listo, from 18th Street. He was from West Side 18th Street. I'm not exactly sure, what clica he was from, but he was out there from West LA. The reason that I know him and his carnal Mao is because there was a homie from 18th Street, San Rafael, Ernest, and he was their primos, and they used to come around, to the city where I'm from, and we used to chill out, mainly because our families, they came from the same town in down down in Mexico, in Culiacan. So you could say we kind of bonded, you know, behind this. So we tend to kick it, mainly because my jefita and my jefitos, they knew theirs, and one way or another, it's just it's just one of those small towns, around Culiacan that everybody knows everybody. But when we were kids, we used to chill, I remember as we're getting older, the homie Listo, he's actually plugged in with the camaradas or the gente in Mexico, and he starts opening that avenue with Puppet, Puppet and his crew, and they actually start moving weight. So this actually went on for a couple years, and after a few years went by, me, I got busted. Ernesto, or Ernest, he he ended up getting killed out there on the street by some norteños. They actually, I don't know how it happened, but he was out there, doing his movement, his thing, and they crept up on him and they actually domed him. He received about two shots, two or three shots in the head. But within time, I came to find out, that the camarada basically had it really sold up in those days when 18 was really about it. They were doing their thing. It was when Puppet was out there and the clique of little cycles was waving it. But in the midst of this is when Puppet caught that, the cadena, and he went up to the feds, and they all started getting hit. They had that RICO Act on them, and Listo was involved in that RICO Act, because it wasn't just Listo, his jefe, like I said, his jefa, his carnal, they were into that moving weight. So what happened is that they ended up picking up their things and they ended up splitting, down to Mexico. But he kept doing his thing, going back and forth. And for Puppet, I don't know if he was actually doing it also for Night Out. But the one I was sure of was always it was Puppet. But in one of those times that he came back to Cali, the homie got cracked. So when he got cracked, his carnal Mao decided to come back just to basically stay in touch on his doings inside. And he was on the streets just doing his thing. He brought his familia with him, his wife and kids, and they just wanted to be here and basically to take care of the needs of Listo, money wise, package wise, those things that you tempt to need your family for when you're in prison. It's sad to say, but that's what, when you're in prison, that's all you are. You just a weight. Cause well, at least in my case, I went up in the system, and the harder I tried to get that weight off my familia, it always came down to, jefa me manda un paquete, or carnala, or XX thing. It always, we could always count on that. And that's to say the least. There's a lot of vatos that are inside, and they start with taking advantage of familia. In the sense that, start doing a mail out here this way, do a money order here, and they start doing that negra, and they start blending them with them tecatos inside. It is why I basically always put that strong pinpoint on, value your family, but without losing track. you know Listo went up in the system, and he started doing his little thing. He started moving up, and throughout time he caught a shoe. He actually hit Tehachapi shoe, and I think in Tehachapi shoe he did a hit for Chaparro, for Chaparro and Chispas from 18. So he ended up catching the Soleta to Pelican Bay. They moved him up there. Now he was already there when I got there, towards the end of 2004, to Pelican Bay, and when we were there, basically, them guys, the Pilis, they're aware when there's a worker and he's doing things right, or at least he has weight, or there's money there. So once he hit there, the Pili Huero Caballo started getting in his ear. Hey, start helping me out, or or I'm not even going to input on what their conversation or how they went about it, you know. But at the end, it was basically what a Caballo try to put a try to get a lock on that, you know. And in the midst time, he was basically stepping on puppets' toes, you know. And later on, where I had a chance to talk to Listo, was basically, you know, what a Caballo telling them, you know, you're right here with us, you know. I understand puppet's your homeboy, but at the end of the day, you know, los dos somos carnales de la 18. So you have to assist me now. And in regards, you know, they started doing their thing, you know. But Listo was smart, you know. He knew he couldn't cut the señor, you know, puppet, even though he was up in the Fed. And so he started doing, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. But I guess in the midst of things, you know, I'm not really sure if it was Caballo or Puppet, the ones that basically found out, and they started basically hating on the other, you know, like, hey, you know, you gotta be exclusive with me, with the things you're doing for me. And they basically kept pushing, you know. And the other reason why I'm telling this story, because this is another story where Camarada tried to try to oversmart, you know, the Pilis, in the sense that when he was busted, he tried, you know, to give each carnal a little bit, you know, like what you need, you know, I need a little bit here, a little bit there. For one, you know, everybody knows that Huero Caballo, he don't have that pull, you know, he don't have that pull to move a lot of things, you know, not at least not in the sense as Puppet and Night Out and Coco and them, you know, they had a lot of they had a lot of backing, you know, from the calles. So, you know, when push came to shove, homeboy Listo ended up paroling. And when he paroled, he continued to, you know, throw a little bit over here and a little bit over there, and, you know, make feria. But it just didn't stop, you know, in the sense that they kept politicking against each other, you know. They kept getting up in his ear, you know, trying to bad talk the next man on why not to do it. And you know, the normal things. It's just how it is. Like I said, you know, they they envy each other. They can't see the next man making $1 more, because they'll go out their way to make that stop. You know, even if in the midst they take camaradas down with them, or they end up, well, they end up starting a big old war amongst camaradas. And when push comes to shove, then they seem to not acknowledge it, you know, or recognize that they were the ones pressing that issue, so that if it's gonna when it hits the fan, it's gonna hit the camaradas. So what Listo opted to do was split, you know, go back to Sinaloa and just do his thing, you know. He had enough clientes over here to go over there and just sit down and just chill. He didn't need those extra headaches, you know. He he stopped liking what how things were turning out inside, or how he was being pressured, even though, you know, he was trying to bless both of them by giving them good prices and everything. You know, I stayed in touch with Listo, man, almost almost about 6 years after this, you know. And he was hurt, man. I'm just gonna put it like that, you know. For one, cause he was out there on the streets trying to plug in his neighborhood or his clica, real tough, try to show love to his señores, as any one of us that's out there, you have a pili from your neighborhood, and of course, you're gonna attempt to lean towards them more than anybody, because it reflects on your neighborhood. So he tried to do that, but I guess he didn't like it, that he was getting a puppet and Coco, that Huero Caballo was pressuring him in this aspect, and they weren't doing nothing. What the camarada seemed to overlook was that, you know, them pillies, they're in the feds, so they can't really press that issue, When you're in state, you, not dispensa to say it like that, but you belong to the state. The state MS gonna dictate your program. They have control of what happens, and those are facts. Dispensa, I'm using words as camaradas are objects, but that's exactly what is. You know, they get to decide what happens with us. They get to decide, what gets imposed on us, either good or bad, and those are facts. And that, the feds believes they ain't gonna stick their hands in the fire for you. It don't matter how close you are to them. So this kept happening. Now, when the homie went back to Sinaloa, Mao and his family had already done and set a life for them in Cali. So now the big mistake that they made was, you know, using Mao and his wife as a three-way to keep in touch, from one angle to the next. So basically, you're giving your family location without even realizing that it's gonna get old. Because I don't care. You could come on here and say like, oh, I seen comments when they say, that I'm a weenie, that I became what I mostly hate, that all these negative things. But I guarantee you're saying this, being out for over 10 years, sitting in your home, relaxing, and in reality, just speaking out your neck. If you're truly about it and you're in the mix, you're gonna get tired of the go around in person, of the BS that always happens, because you could never please a man. So when Listo ended up cutting him out, then actually Huero Caballo, he started pressuring him, and at the same time Puppet, they wanted work, but that was something that Mao didn't want. He didn't want to do that. He had his little thing going, and he had his job. Same with his wife. He was trying to do it live. It is why he wasn't living in West LA. He had moved out and just settled down with his wife. But they were getting ignored by Listo, and Mao wasn't willing to please him in that aspect. He wasn't willing to put his family at risk, and this is exactly what was being told to them. That with all due respect, he wasn't doing that. You know, so at the end of the day, Puppet and Coco, they ended up getting in touch with Listo, and somehow, some way, I think Listo ended up, you know, having people cross things to him and put things in Puppets and Coco's hands, or his workers' hands, to touch base over there in the feds. So now Huero Caballo took it as offense. So what does he does? He has a crew go move on Mao. And as you seen it, they go there and they have one objection. They might get there and play the part that we're here to collect this or do this, but at the end of the day, they have orders already. I'm not gonna run up on nobody if my order saying to go ahead and handle business. So they took me out. So now here's the camarada that at one point did his thing and was trying to do his family thing. A camarada that a lot of time, put good work in two Billy's hands, and they didn't care about that, man. Then that day, they ended up killing Mao because they were jealous of one another. It did not matter no more on how it used to be. Because back then, you were able to get to a place and be like, hey, this is so and so's yard, okay? But I'm blessing so and so. Ah, okay, leave him alone. Nah, hell no. It was like, well, you're here now, you're gonna do things for me, period. So now you have a homie's family go back to Mexico, a wife, a widow now, kids without a father, and behind what? Two people that just do what they do. Basically don't care or value a camarada. And I'll be sincere with everyone. When this happened, it was a big shocker to me. For one, it was like, the vatos from 18. I always seen them as, as a united front. It's just real hard to see them basically politic against each other or go against each other. But then again, you got to remember that Huero Caballos is from the east side, and homeboys were from the west side. Now a lot of people might not take that as very important, but they tend to politic on everyone. I'm talking about the east side. And not to sound like I'm bashing the camaradas from the east side, nah, chales, but it's just facts. They're they're the camaradas that think that they're the top gangsters. And the reason I say this is because I seen it time and time again when I was at a yard where the only raza on the yard were camaradas. They can't, I seen camaradas from the east side, 18th Street. They didn't seem to associate themselves with the rest of the 18. And over here you seen the homies from 18, from South Central, from Inglewood, from Southside, from Huntington Park, from Hollywood. They were all chilled together. It was just the vatos from the east side. They tend to separate themselves and just kick it with the camaradas from East LA. So the reason I state this is because I could imagine this played out in Huero Caballo's feeling towards the Pilis from the west side. Or to be sincere, I ain't gonna even sit here and try to get in the man's head because he only knows why he did what he did. I understand that when I was in Pelican Bay, there were always conversations how he felt left out, how he was losing crews, how he wasn't really active like that no more, and the point that he didn't have too many avenues out there, too many soldados working under him, you know, and jealousy. I'll just leave it at that. It's just jealousy amongst them, and when they're jealous amongst them, unfortunately, camaradas pay. You gotta remember, we're we're rag dolls that when we get when they get tired of, they dispose of to their liking. But why it was strange to me from the camaradas from 18 is because I remember for a long time they were the ones pushing that issue, that sureños should not should not be under that MS thing that we should go solo, and they try to start that Southside government, 18th Street, Choppers 12, Clanton 14, all those neighborhoods that they claim Sureño, but they didn't they didn't associate themselves with the 13, like 38, those types. And to see how down the line it just took, a little bit of greed and to throw all that out the window, man. Of course, Listo, till this day I'm still in touch with him. And his butt hurts still, He can't believe that, he did so much time and at all time he was always trying to look out for both of them because he looked at like La 18 was La 18. And I seen it because, like I stated before, he was going all the way up to San Rafael and clicking up with them up there from 18, from Fresco. You know, he was he was he was a good homie. He's a good homie. Excuse me. And it's sad to see how he tracked his carnal. His carnal's objective was to take care of him, and at the end of the day, he could have said no. I know that it might sound like no, it's not possible, but no, it's possible. See, that's the difference between those vatos that say, "Oh, I'm a campolero, I'm a camarada," or they use the term primo loosely. There's no such thing as primo. You know, primos are camaradas call each other primos when they're under the same pili. If not, then you're not working for the same deal. So we're just camaradas. But man, I just it's just hard. You start putting the division amongst each other, and they take the focus off what what's going on. But at the end of the day, they keep doing their thing. Cause I in my case, I'm gonna speak about me. I ain't gonna put nobody on blast or nothing. You know, when I was up in that, and there was a camarada that he had high value for pilis or something. Once it was time for him to go, it was like a badge of honor. And dispensa, I say it like that, but I was there. I was stupid. So putting in work for the causa, hell yeah. I was there. Que una rayeta con otra raza, or we had to put in work on a mission, whatever. But when it came down to knocking a camarada that had weight amongst the pilis, that was a badge of honor, man. And it's sad to say those are the ones that we had to unite, man. Instead of waiting on a camarada to fall, we should, you know, or not me, because I don't include myself. Just to be sincere with everybody on here. The things I have right now that I will later touch. The the 411 from the doctor says that by March of next year I'll be gone. And I'm okay with it. That's one of the main reasons why I'm on here. You know, it is why you guys should really. I'm not gonna say glory or nothing like that, but should be proud of being in this channel. Because I could sincerely say Tony for at least 2 months was on me about coming on here, and I'm trying to get up here, on here, and like I said, leave my words in young camaradas' heads, and in the hopes that one day they'll pop up, which they will. If you hear them, they'll pop up. How many times have you found yourself saying or doing something that at one point you hate it? You hate it hearing your jefito or your jefita say it, but you ended up doing it too. You see where I'm coming from? So with this happening with my health is, at the most by March of next year, I'll be here. And now that I'm actually able to touch out there and basically do something positive with the mess I did with my life, you know, I'm at peace with everything. And there's no going back and there's no fear in me, man. You know, at the end of the day, my whole life I did stupid things and I never felt fear for it. I always went in it, full force without thinking twice about it. It's just part of life. I just I just wish camaradas would just buck up, and just be like, hey, no more, no more or us. There's already 3 steps for camaradas, Southsider, Sureño, camarada. There ain't no need to be a fourth. I mean, what is the M gonna do? Let's be sincere, you know. On each yard, there's what, 300 homies, and what, 3 M members. If the camaradas really smarted up and be like, hey, ábrete, it'll be done that quick, But again, I ain't pushing an agenda for those that are doing their thing active. I understand where they're at. I was there. But okay, everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and wish you guys muy buenas noches. I just wanted to get on here and share my story about the homie Listo. I known him since kids, and like I stated, I'm in touch with him still. And this is what happened. For trying to please 2 pilis from his own gang, ended up costing him his brother. The house his parents had in LA and everything, that was gone. I believe before he got out, he did about 11 years too. And where did all that go? There was no love for it, no respect. And I understand. I understand that when we fall alone. When we hit the system, we're to do our time alone. So there's no whining or crying and my end. It's just every person has to, or every camarada, man, you gotta hold value for what you are, man, for yourself, your person. As a sureño, you have rights. Now, nobody uses them. You could say no. You could question it. You might get some backlash from it, but you have the right to know. You got the right to say, nah, chales. Or they tell you, I want you to do this. Alright, firmes. Enséñame what you're talking about. You say, homeboy messed up here, okay. I don't tend to disrespect you in any ways, but you know, let me see where you're getting this from, so I could go ahead and move with comfort. Because if the other Sureños under another pili, I don't want that pili to green like me or my family. I mean, there's a lot of things as a Sureño you have the right to. Before I go, I want to answer this question that somebody put out on this last video of what I think about the end of hostilities. I'm gonna probably surprise a lot of you. Me being, you know, a sureño from up north, from the Bay Area, and I actually do think it's a good thing, that at least inside there's peace, amongst raza. Now to I believe it's gonna last as long as everybody's happy and making their feria. The moment something goes south, it's gonna kick off, you know, because at the end of the day, they didn't unite as one organization. They're out there and they're still doing each other, everyone their own thing, which eventually something's gonna go wrong, I hope it don't, because it's like I said, it's actually it's a good thing, Now on my outlook towards how it's gonna affect the streets of Northern California, it won't at all, you know, cause is nothing's gonna change on the streets. Nothing has changed on the streets. I tell you for a fact, I'm still in touch with every homie from my neighborhood, and for most of the homies that are from different neighborhoods in town. Not to that extent I was before, cause like I said, I actually stepped back, But for those I know since kids, it's like, ánimo, homie, saludos to you and family, como has estado, those type of things. And they're killing each other in the streets on a daily basis still. So nothing has changed. It's like LA, It's exactly like LA now. But they did it as a whole state thing now. You in LA, you know, you got neighborhoods blocks from each other and they're at each other's necks killing each other. But once they hit the pinta, that's out the window. You have to coexist with one another. Or in the case of LA, you have to ride with each other. Now, for Northern California, it's going to be exactly the same, You're on the streets at each other's neck and killing each other. Once you hit the joint, you have to coexist. It's just rules and regulations. Now, do I believe it will eventually change? There's going to be an outfall. You guys mark my words. There's going to be an outfall. There's going to be camaradas that are going to get tired of this movement. Now there's going to be those that are going to stay loyal, so there's going to be an inner war as norteños, Most of the norteños, man, they're sick of the NF, you know. I got a lot of stories I could actually get up on here and conversate to you about them battles. But, it's not my place. It's not my place to speak about their thing and their movement, and because that's not what I was about. Like I stated to you, I want to speak about things that I was involved in one way or another. That in my area, just as the abejas and they're doing, the NLRs I know, and they're doing, my respects. They'll eventually, if they want to come on here and speak about their doings and their bad doings, their goods and whatever, that's up to them. Okay, everyone. Well, I hope I answered the question properly and I made some sense of it. It's just facts. Northern California ain't gonna change on the streets, and it ain't nothing gonna change. Still killing each other, and under the same circumstances, sur norte, 'cause that's how the game banging is up north. It ain't about neighborhoods like down south, but it's about sur norte, and they're gonna keep pushing that. But with this said, I'm gonna pass and wish everybody buenas noches. I want to thank everybody for their kind wishes on the comments. I give you my palabra that I'm gonna try to get my full story out there to everyone before before we get to that point where I can't no more, you know, because there is moments where it's real difficult for me, you know. But in hopes I'll be here now, and believe me, you know, I ain't made of wood, you know. Them people that are putting negative comments on here, keep doing your thing, you know. My respects, but I ain't made of wood, you know. You can bend, you can push, you know. I'm not gonna break. I'm here and I got one objective on here, which is get my story out there in the hopes that it will benefit someone from not going down that tunnel of envy, of jealous, excuse me, same thing, of jealousy, of, you know, dog eat dog, you know, just all that negative things that prison brings to everyone. But again, muchas gracias for everyone's comments. I hope I made sense of this story. Dispensa, I didn't get a story to you guys yesterday, but you know, I just had I'll just put it like this, you know, I had a bad episode yesterday, and I ended up being in the hospital for a few hours till about 3 a.m. and it is why I couldn't get up on here and tell a story. So I hope I make sense again, and I'll make sure that I come back and get back into my story on how I hit Pelican Bay so I could continue with it, you know. So with this said, muy buenas noches. Again, gracias to every one of you. And as I always say, you know, value yourself and treasure your loved ones. Show value to those that count. Muy buenas noches.